Hi guys, I'm here with David.
Hello.
And we just felt it's important to let you guys understand something about some of the changes that are happening in the world of mobile and the world of the internet when it comes to that. And that's MAC randomization. You might have heard of this, especially some of you guys have been tinkering that are playing with iOS14 public beta or beta. You might have heard of this. Android's doing the same thing. But really what it comes down to, so what is MAC randomization? And so, David, why don't you give us the quick rundown and then I can explain to them why that's actually happening, right?
Sure. So what MAC randomization is that the one globally unique identifier that's part of every device, every computer, every Internet of Things device is called a MAC address. And it comes in 6 pieces separated by colon. So it's A1 colon, A2 colon, A3, for example, colon A4, colon A5, colon A6, for example. That would be a MAC address. And that MAC address that used to be permanent and fixed to your hardware device for its lifetime is no longer the case with iOS 14 and with Android 10. By default now, it's going to be a different MAC address for every Wi-Fi network, and even on the ones that it's already joined, it could change anywhere from once an hour, once a day, once a week.
Yeah. And so you might wonder, well, why on earth is that happening, right? This is the type of thing that you'd normally only find on hack devices in the past, right? So, the shortest answer to this is there are Wi-Fi access points and routers out there that have been listening to every MAC address that have been coming around.
Yeah.
And as they come around, they could actually start tracking people to say, okay, this address or this device with this unique MAC address has just driven past me or had sat down and had a coffee here. And then it went there and then it went there. And so people are becoming more privacy aware.
Right.
And because of that, Apple said, okay, we're not going to allow that tracking to happen anymore. And sort of with Android, this is jumping on the same bandwagon. And that's really the reason why they're doing that. So what's the effect really is to say, okay, I'm going to give a random MAC address to whatever Wi-Fi is listening for me to see if I want to connect. I'm going to give them a random address. So really, it turns you into a stranger. And then next time when there's another Wi-Fi access point that's willing to connect, well, it gives them a different address. So it just makes it harder for someone to be tracked that way. And that's really why it's happening. And so, but what's important is that the mechanism here is now on the software layer in the operating system. It's not some hack or anything that anyone had to do. It's now in the operating system. And so the operating system is going to randomize to pretend you're someone different every time you're connecting to a different Wi-Fi network, right?
That's right.
But what's the effect of this? So that's good. Like for a strange network, you're going to look like a stranger. So that's a good thing. But what's the effect for someone if they come back to their base network? Like what happens with ADAM1, David?
Right, so what happens is you get back to your ADAM1 network at your base, at your home, at your business, at your organization, and all of a sudden, each time you're coming back, you are now seen as a different device. And so ADAM1 has managed this from the beginning in a way that's done properly by the internet security experts who recommend that you have a proper inventory and you do a default deny on unknown devices. And so that's exactly what happens now. Now your own device is unknown. You're now a stranger in your own network when you leave things set up as the default.
Right, yeah, so let's actually have a look at that. Like if we just get the dashboard going there, I think it would be interesting to just see. So as you guys understand, whenever there is a new device that's joining the network, a stranger that comes onto the network, whatever your default policy is, that's where that device is going to end up with, right? So, and you want that, because if a stranger comes onto your network, you don't want them to just be able to, access illegal content or access things that are harmful and so forth. So by default, for most of our managed clients are going to end up in like what's called a holding tank or a no internet policy. But for people who are managing their own networks, you can set that to whatever you want it to be. So let's just have a look here.
Yep. So what we're doing right now is you can see that on Android, on any Wi-Fi network you connect, it now has a use randomized MAC address as a default under privacy. So when you look at a Wi-Fi network under privacy, it says use randomized MAC by default.
There we go, yeah.
Okay, so now, since this has been here before, but now the randomized MAC address default is now enabled, now it should be in my holding tank. So again, it's a device that was previously known, but now it shows up in my holding tank, and sure enough, here's a new MAC address, and therefore a new IP address.
Yeah, so in other words, if this device had joined with its actual MAC address, it would be in like the guest network or whatever policy you wanted that device to be in, right? So if you wanted to give that device access to YouTube or filtered and for safe search, whatever you were running in that policy, that means that that device would have had it. But now it's pretending to be a stranger. It becomes a stranger essentially to the network, and what happens is it shows up again on your dashboard, but this time it's going to, in this case, going to show up in the holding tank because that's the randomized MAC address there. And this device is a stranger, so it's treated like a stranger, right? Okay. So what do you do if you don't want to be treated like a stranger? Well, you have a few options, right?
That's right.
So the first option would be that you switch off your randomization for the specific network that's your base, right? That makes sense, because then you'll get the proper policy and the proper treatment that you want. Another option that some guys might use, which is not as secure, is to just have your default policy be whatever policy you're happy with people accessing anyway. But see, in that way, you don't have the granular control that Adam One actually offers you. We can have individual settings for individual device. And that's so that's not really an option. It's a way to make things work, but it's not a secure option in our opinion, right?
And there's another problem with that too.
Yeah.
The other issue is that if you take that approach where you just make the default policy one that allows you to do whatever you want to do, then your devices will just keep on duplicating on the dashboard, because every time there's a new MAC address, it'll find another one.
Yeah.
So David's phone will show up once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and so forth. So don't take that approach.
Right.
The best approach is just to say, on my base network, don't use a random MAC address, because on your home base network, where you are trusting the network on your device anyway, there is no MAC address randomization value anyway.
That's right.
So
yes,
everybody wins.
Yeah. And so then that way, if you're roaming around, sure, by all means, use that additional privacy feature. That's great. But when you come back to your base, you want to clearly identify who you are, so you can get the privileges that should be yours when you're on that network. So that's the easy way of doing that. Okay, so how do you actually switch it off? Let's have a look on Apple's iOS, and then we'll also have a look on Android and what to do.
So let's take a look at the iPhone now. That's right. So if you take a look at in general about, you'll see that we have iOS software version 14.0. And if we then go back and tap into the Wi-Fi section, whatever Wi-Fi network you're connected to, and you tap on the I, you'll now see you have a Wi-Fi address that is different from what you previously had. So if this device was already part of your Adam One network, and now this private address is on, the Wi-Fi address is now going to be different.
So that private address is on by default. That's essentially what will create the MAC randomization. So how will this show up? So let's see it showing up on the dashboard.
Yeah, so on the dashboard, we now see 72DE as being a brand new device with a new IP address, and it's in the holding tank.
Right, so it can't go anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's see how to switch that off then.
So the way we turn that off is when we're back into the Wi-Fi settings, and that private address setting, we simply tap on to turn off, and then it's going to ask us to rejoin the wireless network. And when we do that, you will see that the Wi-Fi address MAC is now the non-randomized one, the one that you had before.
Right.
And so once again, you'll have the same dashboard, the same internet access as you had before, because it's now the real MAC address, not a randomized one.
Right. Let's go back to settings just so people can completely see where to find it.
To find that, you're going to go to Settings, and then under Settings, expand the Wi-Fi, and then the one that you're connected to, tap on the I, and then turn off the private address.
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go. So now, and this one is joined, so it would be at the moment, it would now show up under guest network, right?
So now it will show up under a guest network, because if I go back to
that's
what
where
I
it
had
was.
before, and that's where it was before,
Yeah.
it was on the proper guest network.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good stuff. So at this point, the device will get proper treatment. It can go wherever it needs to go. If it had it randomized, it would be in the holding tank and it can't go anywhere.
That's exactly right.
So there is also a link here, like if you click on this shortened URL here, to take you to a knowledge base article. Will give you more information and more detail to how to handle this. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So both in iOS and in Android, you just need to follow the steps that are outlined there that allow you to very easily tap on the wireless network and say, for this network, don't randomize my MAC address, and then you're good to go.
Right, and if you're wondering, why people will go through the effort of actually doing that, it's very simple. If they don't, they're pretending to be a stranger and they'll be treated like a stranger. So if you're on a protected network and you want to get proper access to and a proper policy applied to you, then don't lie about who you are.
That's right.
Switch off the randomization for that. But by all means, go ahead and have that on for any other strangers network. By all means, go ahead and do that. We're big advocates for the whole privacy thing. Now, we've been actually fighting for that for quite a while. So
that's right. This is altogether a very positive movement in the right direction, and this is the very minor issue that you just need to maybe rewatch this video one more time. But then once you've gone through it one time, it makes perfect sense and it's easy to manage going forward.